Being poorly impressed with the release of Alien Romulus and not having gotten around to watching the new TV series Alien Earth, I thought I would here make a pledge for getting into the very fun and visually alluring comic book series Alien Paradiso. I think this would be welcome for both ardent fans of the franchise and, in particular, if you have enjoyed any of the previous comic book adaptations of the Alien universe, such as the long running comic book series Aliens, but also for people going in fresh. I think it's a quick, fun read. To start off, Paradiso, as its name suggests, takes place on a tropical paradise for the rich, where, to quote, the money flows like blood and the blood flows like acid. The plot set up for this comic book revolves around criminals, or to be more exact, smugglers, where a certain Ricky Valentine, a known smuggler and arms dealer, is set to meet up with the owner of the resort of Paradiso, known as Carlito Magni, a true mafia boss crime name. The place Paradiso is a privately owned planetoid operated by Magni, who is himself a billionaire and serves as a retreat for the wealthy. In any case, at the same time Valentine is making his entrance to Paradiso, two colonial marshals, Dash Nanda and Lydia Reeves, are unbeknownst to the smugglers sent as part of a reconnaissance mission in order to bust Valentine and his whole smuggling operation. As is the case with all iterations of media involving xenomorphs, things quickly spin out of control when a chest burster, as its name suggests, burst through the chest of a character known as Su Jin, who arrives fashionably late to the meetup, and who looks understandably rather shaky before things start happening with his chest. In any case, moments before the pivotal scene, Sujin himself, a member of the notorious Arrow of Gold cartel, reveals to Valentine that he has changed his mind in terms of a business arrangement, where he has chosen the corporate path of Weyland-Yutani Corporation instead. This whole smuggling operation will later be revealed to be as we feared, namely the smuggling of biological weapons in the form of our beloved xenomorph creatures, where the corporation of Weyland-Yutani is as always naive in relation to the modus operandi of thinking it can control the creatures through the aid of Father Science. Getting back to the scene in question, this scene serves as a beautiful centerpiece of the first issue of the comic book, where amid luxurious bar interior shots, we see, to the horror of the guests attending Paradiso, a fully formed chestburster making its way to its common place of retreat after bursting through the host's ribcage, namely the air shafts, as in the first Alien film. Following this event, Paradiso tries to implement a full-scale lockdown at the same time as the bar guests' witnesses are put in isolation at the bar, but as we all know, the magnitude of resilience and aggression when it comes to xenomorph creatures is hard to fathom. The rest of the story then plays out in the expected fashion, where notable highlights include xenomorph creatures stalking its tourist prey, a fight scene with the man with the golden arm, and unbeknownst pool workers being trapped in a steam room with the alien creatures. Lastly, as Paradiso takes place not too long after the Nostromo incident, there is a homage of sorts in terms of the first film, where the daughter of Thomas Kane, a famed crew member on board the Nostromo, is introduced. However, both Sula Kane, the daughter, and the continuity elements are not really tackled all that interestingly in the comic, for the name semblance does most of the, if not all of the heavy lifting, so the continuity in terms of the first film is not really done all that too well in my opinion. The overall ending of the comic also feels a bit underwhelming, where I feel they could have done more with the ending scenes involving Valentine. One should keep in mind that, as opposed to the main good guy protagonist, the bad guy is only really destroyed once in the ending scenes of a good movie, so one should therefore try to make the most out of it in terms of delivery. In any case, there are plenty of other good elements to the comic, so I don't want to be too negative here, but I thought it was worth pointing out. In general then, we might here ask ourselves what truly makes this reading experience worthwhile in terms of the comic. Well, there are at least 3 elements which I want to touch briefly upon here. Namely, number 1, the reversal of class focus, number 2, the vivaciousness of the illustrative detail of the comic, and lastly, number 3, the overall James Bond vibe. This time, it's not eat the poor, but rather eat the rich. At least if we discount the poor working staff at Paradiso, where predominantly it is the affluent tourists who get their share of alien madness as quarantine precautions are quickly nullified by greater both threat elements and the ingenuity of the xenomorphs to hunt their prey. This makes for a nice class tonal shift, if you will, in the series. Whereas an example in Alien, the focus was upon the lower rungs of the crew on board the Nostromo, and in Aliens, the focus was shifted to the predominantly working class military workers of the colonial marines. In addition, the locality itself was confined to poorly lit cargo ships, prisons, or more technologically advanced yet monotonic spaceships, or departed settlements as examples. Paradiso, in contrast, serves as a tropical paradise steeped in luxury and ostentatious living standards, a luxurious family resort being ripped inside out by the alien reptilian underworld comprising the xenomorphs. The illustrations in Paradiso, done here by the artist Peter Nugent, are anything but boring, where above all movement is considered heavily, along with the startling planned death scenes taken on by the writer and brilliantly executed by the artist in question. In particular, there is a creative move here to portray the sense of spectral color scheme of the xenomorphs, where much akin to the Predator movies, we get a glimpse of what they see through some trippy, hallucinogenic colorings, which in turn stretch both the imagination and verisimilitude in terms of obtaining the vantage point of Hunter, here serving as the xenomorphs. Lastly, there is a sort of James Bond vibe to Paradiso, where casino scenes in particular stick out from the movies, in which one must outsmart one's opponent in unfriendly territory. Although the territory is unfriendly, however, this does not mean that the surroundings are not beautiful, as frequently displayed in either hotel or other high establishment casino scene, where we get a glimpse of the high-class baller lifestyle. There is certainly no lack of this element in Paradiso, which seeks to maximize its surroundings at every opportunity it gets in terms of visual style. Highly recommended. Alright, that wraps up this short video, where I have tried to briefly make the case for the comic book series Alien Paradiso, which despite being only 5 issues long, has a lot of punch to deliver. If you are interested, I do have more alien-related content on this channel, so please feel free to check that out if you will. So yeah, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers!